the mid to late 1990s, when the popular internet was just beginning. This is before that, there was the internet, and some of you, I'm looking around the crowd, some of you are old enough to remember that, where you went down into a basement somewhere and logged on to something called Gopher, and you could get email that way. But the 90s is when we got browsers, so that kind of everybody could go on the internet. And it was at that time that there was a philosopher and sometimes lyricist for the Grateful Dead named John Perry Barlow, who wrote something called the Manifesto, the Declaration of Independence of Cyberspace. And in that, he was talking about the internet as a destination, as a place that you could go. And he also wrote about it as a frontier. And so he sort of reinscribed that manifest destiny rhetoric onto the internet. And it was, and during that time, people were talking about the internet as this place that was going to be raceless. There was not going to be race there. There wasn't going to be gender there, because we were going to escape embodiment. It was about that time I had already written my first book that looked at white supremacists in printed publications. It was about that time I had started noticing on the internet, because I like to tinker and fool around with stuff, and I was like on the internet in the early days, and I was like, oh, these people I studied in the printed page are now here on the internet. It was the early days, and so at the very moment when John Perry Barlow and other people like that were declaring the raceless internet, and some of you may remember the MCI commercial from about that time, about utopia, that made the same argument. The white supremacists were already on the internet, and they created a place called Stormfront, which you may have heard of, which was a white supremacist portal. But more disturbing and more pernicious than that, they were also prescient in that they registered the domain name martinlutherking.org in the 90s. And at that site put up what looked to be like maybe some kids created, like a tribute site to Dr. King. But if you scrolled all the way to the bottom of that webpage, which about 85% of us never ever do, you would see that there was a link to Stormfront, the overtly white supremacist portal. And I first discovered that at a college computer lab with my students, because a student had typed in Martin Luther King into a search engine. It was before Google, so it was probably Alta Vista or something like that. But that's where they ended up the first time we went into the computer lab. Right, so the point of this whole thing is that white supremacists are what I call innovation opportunists. They've been there all along in internet technologies, and they've been always looking for ways to exploit and make use of that technology for their own ideological ends. At the same time, you have a technology industry that's wedded to the kind of John Perry Barlow ideology of like it's raceless, and so you have this result where Mark Zuckerberg is sitting there testifying and gets one question, a very well-crafted question about white supremacy on the internet, and he's like, drink of water, I don't know. Like, he has no clue, he has no way, he has no language to even respond to that. So I mean, I think it's where we are right now.